Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to your final Lunch and Learn session, where we will continue exploring how to support the career aspirations of your teams, as well as to take greater charge of your career journey from a physiological point of view. Very often we think of our professional selves as separate from our emotions and physical state. But the truth is they are all interconnected. And when stress hits, our ability to think clearly and make good decisions suffers. And this can hold us back in our careers at precisely the moments when we need to shine. But what if we could access an inner wellspring of wisdom to navigate these challenges? This session is about unlocking that potential. We'll explore the hidden connections between our minds, bodies, and emotions, and how they influence our decisions at work. By understanding this intricate web, we can learn to harness our inner wisdom instead of letting emotions control our decisions. Imagine feeling more grounded, more resourceful, more connected, even in those high-pressure situations. Studies research that to enable us and the teams we are leading to show and feel those attributes of resourcefulness, connection, presence, psychological safety plays a crucial role. I'm sure by now you are familiar, or I hope you are a bit more familiar, with the LHH 5Ps model. Today, we will delve into the nervous system and your relationship with your nervous system to help you create more conscious space for you and your team to address any of these career focus areas. Since psychological safety plays a crucial role, can you type in the chat function, what is your definition of psychological safety? According to Neuro Leadership Institute, psychological safety is a shared belief that it's safe and worthwhile to speak up, ask for and share feedback, and have productive conflict. And you have said this just in a slightly different way. So it's a notion that we can speak up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes without the fear of repercussions and judgment. And this plays a crucial role in helping us to take charge of a career journey and create more space for our own definition of success. It allows us to be more agile, more innovative, and more effective. According to Accenture, psychological safety leads to plus 76% of engagement, plus 50% of productivity, and less than 74% of stress. But according to recent Neuro Leadership Institute research, more than 50% of employees feel low psychological safety. And this is due to different factors. Tensions about the return to office have kept leaders on a dizzy pivot. Geopolitical conflicts have transformed socio-economic realities around the globe. The latest technological advancements are creating more change and uncertainty. Mental health in the workplace has stepped to the fore as one of the most difficult issues of our time. We are living times of deep uncertainty, hence why psychological safety is paramount if we want to feel that sense of permission to bring ourselves to work. Our work is knowledge-based. We depend on each other's observations, ideas, making the need for psychological safety greater and greater. I want to read this quote. Here's a quote from the psychologist, neuroscientist, Dr. Stephen Porges, the author of the polyvagal theory. When it comes to identifying safety from an adaptive survival perspective, the wisdom resides in our body and in the structures of our nervous system that functions outside the realm of awareness. For those of you who are completely new to the polyvagal theory, the theory respects how our physiological, physical, and behavioral responses depend on our physiological state. The theory emphasizes the bidirectional communication between bodily organs and the brain through the vagus nerve. I'm sure at least most of you are familiar with the vagus nerve and other nerves involved in the regulation of the autonomic nervous system, which, as you may know, is responsible for all of those primary functions we need for survival. Think about breathing, digesting, blood pressure, to name a few. And the intricate dance of the nervous system happens under the level of our awareness, way before our perception, our cognitive functions come into play. The nervous system continuously evaluates risk by processing sensory information from the environment and also from internal organs. And this evaluation does not require conscious awareness. To explain this, let me show you this diagram, which introduces you to the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system, or ANS, is made up of two main branches, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic, and responds to signals and sensations via three pathways, each with a characteristic pattern of response. Through each of these pathways, we react in service of survival. The sympathetic branch is found in the middle part of the spinal cord, and this is the pathway that prepares us for action. It responds to cues of danger and triggers the release of adrenaline and cortisol in our body, which, as you know, fuels the fight or flight response. In the parasympathetic branch, the polyvagal theory focuses on two pathways traveling within the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve from the brain stem of the skull travels in two directions, downward through the lungs, heart, diaphragm, and stomach, and upward to connect with the nerves in the neck, throat, eyes, and ears. And the vagus is divided into two parts, the ventral vagal, also called social engagement, and the dorsal vagal. The ventral vagal pathway responds to cues of safety and supports feelings of being safely engaged and socially connected. In contrast, the dorsal vagal responds to cues of extreme danger. It takes us out of connection and into a protective state of collapse. And this is our most primitive survival response that goes all the way back to our ancient vertebrate ancestors. The sympathetic branch and its response in terms of mobilization was next to develop. The most recent addition in evolutionary terms is the ventral vagal, which is activated whenever we feel calm, whenever we feel grounded, whenever we feel connected, curious, focused. In one word, whenever we feel safe. We experience well-being when the three parts of the autonomic nervous system work together, because this can help us be compassionate towards others, but also towards ourselves, curious about the work we do, and emotionally and physically connected to others. Without the influence of the ventral vagal, also known as social engagement, the nervous system continues to sound the alarm. It's important to focus on some of the most common survival reactions in the workplace, because this is one way in which the nervous system continues to sound the alarm if we don't connect with the ventral vagal social engagement. And one of these common survival reactions is perfectionism. which relates to the flight response in our nervous system. We go to war with the task, and this is what turns people into workaholics very often. Procrastination relates to the flee response in the nervous system. We are moving without a real action. We keep ourselves busy running away from the goal. Project paralysis, this relates to the freeze response. We feel unable to take action in an effort to keep ourselves safe. And last but not least, people pleasing, which relates to the fall response in the nervous system. And this is when we try to win a favor in order to feel safe and accepted. And as you can imagine, this very often triggers people pleasing and boundary issues. I'd like to ask you this question, and you're more than welcome to use the chat function. What could be some threats, some examples of perceived threats in the workplace based on your own experience? So these are some of the most common perceived threats at work based on plenty of research. Micromanagement, constant supervision and criticism from a manager can create a feeling of being watched and judged, leading to anxiety and insecurity. Unclear expectations, as some of you have also said in the chat, not knowing what's expected of you can be stressful, making you feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells and risking negative feedback. Unstable work environment. Frequent changes in leadership, policies, or company structure can trigger feelings of uncertainty and instability. Feeling undervalued, not receiving recognition for your work, being passed over for opportunities, or having your ideas dismissed can make you feel unimportant and demotivated. And last but not least, unhealthy competition. When co-workers are pitted against each other for promotions or limited resources, it can create a tense and competitive atmosphere where collaboration and trust are replaced by suspicion and anxiety. We also have workload overload, and all of this will lead to a wide range of triggers for a nervous system to sound the alarm. Study shows that social threats, such as the fear of embarrassing yourself on stage, can unleash comparable alarm and distress in the nervous system, often lingering longer than it would in the case of physical danger. So if we don't know how to harness the ventral vagal or social engagement, you can also call it place of safety to make it easier. If we don't know how to harness the ventral vagal, if we don't know how to go back to that place of physiological safety and bring the nervous system back to a place of safety, the center for fear and aggression in the brain, known as the amygdala, will override the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for problem solving, emotional regulation, and rational thinking, to name a few. Our brain will end up create limiting stories to desperately try to make sense of the messages coming from our nervous system. And this is also why it's important to think about your own window of tolerance. The window of tolerance, for those of you who are new to this concept, describes the zone of arousal, physical and emotional, in which we each can function optimally in our day-to-day lives. Inside our window of tolerance, we can take in information from our environment and respond to it without completely withdrawing or feeling overwhelmed. Our window of tolerance is unique to each of us and will vary according to the events and circumstances we are experiencing. Our window of tolerance might be narrow, which means we can get easily dysregulated and move more quickly to the extreme ends of the spectrum, or it might be wide, which means we can tolerate some dysregulation and can then return quite quickly to a settled state. And our window of tolerance can change from day to day or even moment to moment. For example, feeling tired, hungry, or sick often narrows our window. So the window of tolerance is subjective. So whilst one person might easily tolerate a raised voice in conflict, another person could feel quickly derailed by raised voices to the point that they have the urge to walk away or respond with a raised voice themselves. When we are able to pay attention to a particular pattern of dysregulation, then we can spot the warning signs, not only in ourselves, but also in the people we work with, which often show up as sensations in our bodies, indicating that it's time to use strategies to bring us back into a window of tolerance or make other adjustments. And to do this, awareness is the first step, where we can get curious and notice what the stressor is and our reaction to it, naming the sensations in our body and linking them to a nervous system state. This helps us to broaden our window of tolerance. Awareness also reactivates the part of our brain responsible for thinking, the prefrontal cortex, which can get hijacked by the fear center in our brain, as we have seen earlier, when we are responding to a perceived threat or stressor in the day. This slide can show you a summary of the polyvagal 3 circuits, or the way in which the nervous system can respond to a perceived threat or danger. I'd like you to do a short exercise. It would be great if you could have pen and paper. Otherwise, you can use your visualization resources. I'd like you to think now of a time in which you were in one of these 3 circuits or states. Ideally, I'd like you to think of a time in which you were in each of these 3 circuits or states. I'd like you to write down a few words about what happened, what you felt, and what your body did. How did it feel in your body when you were in that specific state? It's okay if you don't remember experiencing all 3 states. One of the objectives for this session today is to gradually help you to get to know your nervous system and its states with curiosity and no judgment. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do this. It's a private exercise. I'd like you to think about at least one state out of these 3 states. Think about what happened, what was going on around you, what was the situation like. Were you on your own? Were you with other people? Maybe you were having an important conversation with your line manager. Maybe you were dealing with a deadline. Maybe you were working on a complex project. Think about the situation. Think about how you felt in that specific situation. And more importantly, think about how you were feeling physically and physiologically speaking. How did it feel in your body when you were dealing with that situation? This is one of the many ways in which you can learn about your nervous system. This is one of the many ways in which you can start to become curious about the way your nervous system sends you messages depending on the level of threat or the perceived danger you're dealing with.
Massimo, it's Tim Edwards here.
Tim,
Since I'm
yes.
since I'm a colleague, I'm actually I've hijacked your session. I'll just share a story while everyone's reflecting.
Thank you, Tim.
I had a project about 15 years ago. I had just signed a mortgage with some friends, and the company I was working for were making noises about some restructuring. So the pressure was on, and I had a project, and there was a very detailed Excel spreadsheet that I needed to fill in. I had a very high-powered manager at the time. They talked me through very, very quickly the tasks that I had to do. And I remember being so stressed, I couldn't read. I was looking at the Excel and my eyes were moving really, really quickly. And I just realized, oh my
Mm.
gosh, like I can't actually read. And my body felt like it was floating. It was the weirdest sensation. And the only way I've been able to move past that and grab a lesson learned is I've really reflected on what the behaviors are I can have to stop me getting in that state. And when I feel like now a task is running fast, I have to have the discipline to say, actually ask the questions in advance, get the brief. So that's my practical thing I've done to make sure I'm not there again. But it was the weirdest feeling, just not being able to read. As I think I was about 25 at the time,
Right.
25-year-old professional, just unable to read, feeling like I was floating away. I just thought I'd share while everyone's doing their own reflection.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. It's very helpful. And I guess it's now you know how your body responds, and you can take also some proactive actions for your body to feel safer. And that also helps you to address certain situations more constructively and also more safely for you as an individual. A tool that I'd like you to familiarize yourselves with. And I'm sure this is something that hopefully you already know. And I'm saying hopefully because this has helped me personally speaking quite a few times whenever I had to address a perceived challenge at work. This is one of those tools that can also help you um, befriend your nervous system and bring your body back to that place of safety. We think we know how to breathe when in fact we often don't, especially when we juggle a variety of demands at work. And in times of stress, our sympathetic nervous system is on high alert. Box breathing is one of those conscious breathing tools to help us move out of that state by stepping into the ventral vagal social engagement state. We can do this exercise together. I'm conscious I won't be able to see you, but we can still do this exercise together. Um, because I'd like you to experience this, even just for a few seconds, particularly for those of you who are completely new to this tool. So find a comfortable position in your chair. You can close your eyes if you wish. You can keep your eyes open. And what I'd like you to do is to breathe in through your nose while engaging with your diaphragm as you slowly count to 4 in your head. And while you're doing this, be conscious of how the air fills your lungs and stomach. So you take a deep breath in, and then you count in your head to 4. So you hold your breath to the count of 4, and then you breathe out to another count of 4. Hold your breath again to the count of 4, and then you do the exercise over again. So you take a deep breath in, then you hold it, and make sure you use your diaphragm when you take that deep breath in, and then you release it. And you can count to 4 when you release it, but I would even say make sure you feel your lungs empty. You should feel lighter. You should feel calmer, more grounded at this stage. By doing this exercise, you activate your vagus nerve, and you gradually bring your body to a more regulated place. And as I said, for those of you who are completely new to this exercise, You don't have to count to 4. I'm also conscious that sometimes we don't really have the luxury of time at work. The secret, and that's also how you can do this exercise in a way that is more brain friendly. The secret is in doing this exercise with repetition and focus, because this is how we will make incremental changes in our brain and build a new habit. It's interesting also what I saw in the chat, feeling more relaxed and yawning, and even yawning in itself is just another way for your nervous system to reset, to press the reset button. So yawning, signing, they also are ways in which you can gradually bring your nervous system, your body, back to a place of safety. It's totally normal, and this can help you create more space for you to take more conscious decisions whenever you need to address a challenge, or whenever you are working on an important project at work. I thought I would walk you through just a couple of short experiential exercises or tools. And this tool or practice is called orienting. And it's about connecting to your environment through your 5 senses. Orienting helps your nervous system know where you are, which is naturally calm and settling. For this exercise, as you have done also for the previous exercise, I'd like you to find a comfortable position in your chair. You can also stand up if you wish. You can change the energy. You can stand up. You can sit in your chair. What I'd like you to do, you look around the room or the space where you are right now. And I'd like you to do that gently and with curiosity. So look around the room or the space where you are. You can let your eyes go wherever they want to go. Just explore visually. You can look around, above, below you. And while you're doing this, take a deep breath in and out and follow your breath. Just relax in a natural and curious way. Feel your neck and head move as you look around. Be gentle. There's no rush. Be gentle in your movement. The muscles behind your eyes, hand, and neck are connected to the vagus nerve. So just by doing this, this is something that you can do. Maybe you're working on your laptop, maybe you have back-to-back meetings. You can do this exercise even just for a few seconds in between those meetings where you are connecting with your ventral vagal, just by exploring the space around you with curiosity and with a very slow movement. Notice how you feel inside as you look around. Notice how your body feels. This is another way in which you can bring your body back to that place of connection, of resourcefulness. Once your body feels safe, that's when you will have more space in your brain for resources to use at work. Another tool that I'd like you to explore is the 90-second rule. Whenever you experience something, an event, a conversation, there is an initial biochemical and electrical surge that lasts 30 to 90 seconds. This is where your unconscious and conscious mind are adjusting and processing the incoming information. When a person have a reaction to something in their environment, there's a 90-second chemical process that happens. Any remaining emotional response is just the person choosing to stay in that emotional loop. So this is one way in which we can control our emotions. The 30-90-second rule entails doing the following 3 things sequentially in a 60 to 90-second period. So first you breathe in deeply. So that's also why I wanted you to become a bit more familiar with the box breathing. First you breathe in deeply, so your rib cage expands, and focus on a strong exhale. And you repeat this 3 to 5 times. Then, if possible, you create some mental space by going into another room, or even by yelling out loud if appropriate, or just in your mind. You just create some space after you breathe in and out. And this can help you to reinstate neurophysiological calm in the brain and body. You can also do something physical like stretching or jumping. This is also how you let the emotion move throughout your body without getting stuck. And this can be another powerful way for you to bring your nervous system back to that place of safety and to reinforce your connection with the creative, solution-focused, problem-solving part of your brain. Moments of dysregulation, our feelings can be amplified, making it hard to get a hold of them. To help with this, you can visualize yourself taking whatever emotion you're feeling, let's say you feel overwhelmed, and putting it in front of you to help create boundaries between you and the feeling. You can even manipulate the emotion. For instance, if you picture the emotion as a heavy bowling ball, you can squeeze it down to the size of a tennis ball, making it easier to handle. So this is another tool that can help you control your emotions in a way that is supportive and constructive. We are wired for connection. Whether we are physically or virtually with other people, the nervous systems are always communicating to each other. So why have I walked you through some tools today? According to polyvagal theory, it's the mutual sending and receiving of signals of safety, which is really not just the absence of danger, but also the connection between two nervous systems, each nourishing and regulating the other in the process. Because it's baked into our evolutionary past, it's not a desire, it's a need, one developed to facilitate survival. So as humans, we are programmed to seek interpersonal connection. And co-regulation refers to the process whereby a person's nervous system calms another and produces a positive feedback loop that is soothing for both. This will be reflected in words, tone of voice, expression, or body language. So regulating emotions at an individual level, and you have a few tools there to practice, has been linked to better quality communication, physiological health, psychological well-being, and work performance. And in order for you to foster an environment where conscious co-regulation happens in the workplace, first notice, and those tools can help you also press the pause button and start noticing. Stop what you're doing, even just for 1 second. Become aware of your own body. Notice how you're feeling, how you're portraying yourself, and how that is affecting the way you're approaching others. You then pause. Pausing allows for slower, more deliberate decision making. So take a moment to pause, breathe, and clear your thoughts. Focus on responding rather than reacting. And perspective, take a step back. Picture what the interaction looks like from outside of yourself. Pay attention to the dynamic between the other party, let's say your line manager or one of your team members, and yourself, and consider what message you are sending to them. And those tools capture these 3 stages. So when a situation spirals away from connection, we are all co-responsible to engage in co-regulating behaviors. We have about half second to choose our reaction before the autonomic response kicks in. And we have seen today that all of this happens under the level of our awareness. We will, of course, not have the capacity to make well thought through strategies in half a second. However, we can make it a habit to calm the body down by taking a deep breath in and then exhaling slowly, as we have seen, because that single breath can be enough to keep us feeling safe and connected. We will not always have the capacity to offer co-regulation, but the more we practice, the more of the capacity we will build. And we can learn to remain aware of our bodily responses and improve our capacity to stay calm rather than move down the ladder. So there are some ways in which we can create calm and quiet environments where we have time and space to hear each other, because this will also have an incredible impact on our physiological response, our psychological response, but also on the way we perform at work. We calm down our voice, we speak more slowly and use more melody, because this will also be interpreted by the nervous system as a cue of safety. But we validate. We hear that your interpretation of what I said was that I didn't want to move forward with the proposal, so I need to get my needs across. So we validate. We also smile, we can tilt our heads, because this creates a perception that the other person is safe and not a threat. We stay calm and connected. So we use the tips to regulate our own nervous system to avoid following the downward spiral. And I wanted to end with this quote from the licensed clinical social worker, Deb Dana. Autonomic listening is inextricably linked with the need for self-compassion. It's an invitation for all of us to step into the observer role and approach the dance of our nervous system with self-compassion, because we know now its job is to ensure we survive in moments of danger and thrive in times of safety. So exploring its intricate dance and knowing how to come back to a ventral vagal state can create stories of career possibilities.